Tiffany Franco, known for her role on 90 Day Fiancé, has been in a serious car accident and is now in the hospital receiving medical care. She is fighting for her life. This is the story of what happened, what followed, and the battle she now faces. On the evening of June 21st, 2025, Tiffany's day started like any other. After a busy week running her makeup business, creating content, and caring for her two children, Daniel and Carly Rose, she was finally heading home. Sources close to her say she had just finished a late dinner with a friend in a nearby town. It was a rare chance for her to relax. The weather started to turn. A light drizzle was falling, making the road slick and hard to see clearly. She was driving along a two-lane highway, a road she knew well and had traveled many times. It felt like a normal drive until everything changed. Just before 10:45 p.m., a terrible crash happened. A witness who was a few cars behind remembers the moment clearly. The rain gave everything a strange glow. They saw the headlights of a big truck, maybe a Ford F-250, coming from the opposite direction. Suddenly, the truck swerved across the center line. There were no brake lights, no warning. It happened in seconds. The sound of the crash was awful, nothing like in the movies. It was a loud crunch, metal scraping, and then silence. Just the sound of rain. The first 911 call came in at 10:47 p.m. Maryland State Police and Frederick County Fire and Rescue arrived within minutes. What they saw was shocking. The large truck had hit Tiffany's car head-on. Her car had been thrown into a ditch, crushed from the front. One of the first responders said the driver of the truck was hurt, but awake and walking. But Tiffany's car was in terrible shape. The driver's side had taken the full impact. The engine was pushed back into the car. She was trapped inside, unconscious. The next hour was critical. Paramedics worked quickly. They used the jaws of life to try and free her. It took them 28 long minutes to carefully get her out without causing more harm. They were trying to keep her breathing, stop the bleeding, and check her pulse the whole time. Her blood pressure was very low, and her pulse was weak. She had major injuries inside her body. Once they got her out, a police officer found her ID and realized who she was. The woman fighting for her life was Tiffany Franco. Because of how bad her injuries were, they decided not to take her to the nearest hospital. Instead, she was airlifted to the Adams Cowley Shock Trauma Center in Baltimore, one of the best trauma hospitals in the country. There, the fight for her life began. One of the doctors explained what happens in crashes like this. They do full checks for deadly injuries, heavy bleeding, blocked airways, and brain damage. Tiffany had all the signs of serious trauma. She was unresponsive, and her blood pressure was dangerously low. As doctors and nurses worked on her, her family was going through a nightmare. The first call was to her mother, someone fans know well from the show. She was told her daughter had been in a serious accident. She collapsed when she heard the news. Friends had to help her get dressed and drive her to the hospital. It was a quiet, heartbreaking drive. She kept whispering, "My baby girl, my baby girl." Tiffany's kids, Daniel and Carly, were with their grandmother. At first, they didn't tell them what happened. They wanted to wait until they knew more. How do you explain this to a young child? At the hospital, Tiffany went straight into hours of surgery. The doctors found many serious injuries. She had a torn spleen and liver, which caused major internal bleeding. That's why her blood pressure was so low. She also had a collapsed lung and broken ribs. Her left leg was badly broken, with a compound fracture in the thigh bone. But the most serious injury was to her head. Tiffany had a traumatic brain injury. The crash made her brain slam against her skull, causing swelling and bleeding. The doctors had to act fast. When the brain swells, it can't expand because the skull is hard. That pressure can stop blood and oxygen from getting to the brain, which can cause brain damage or death. To save her, surgeons performed a decompressive craniectomy. That means they removed a part of her skull to give her brain space to swell. One team worked on stopping the bleeding and fixing her leg, while another team worked to protect her brain. Tiffany was put on a ventilator to help her breathe. They also put her into a medically induced coma to give her body the best chance to heal. The Tiffany fans know strong, loud, full of life, was now quiet, still, and surrounded by machines. As she lay in the coma in Baltimore, the news had to be shared with someone thousands of miles away, Ronald Smith. Their love story had been full of ups and downs, from meeting in South Africa to dealing with visa problems, distance, and personal struggles. Their relationship has always been emotional and complicated. One fan described it best. Their story was one of the most emotional on the show. You could see the love between them, especially when they were with the kids. But life kept getting in the way. Money problems, legal issues, and being apart. Now, the biggest test of all had arrived. When fans heard about the crash, the first question many asked was, has Ronald been told? What about Ronald? With a 6-hour time difference, the call from Tiffany's panicked mother reached Ronald early in the morning in South Africa. Sources say he was in complete shock. Then panic set in. A family friend said he kept repeating, is she alive? Is she breathing? I need to be there. I need to get there. But it wasn't that simple. He's in South Africa. He doesn't have a U.S. visa. He couldn't just get on a plane. The feeling of being powerless must have been overwhelming. He's her husband, the father of her child, and he was stuck on the other side of the world while the woman he loves was fighting for her life. Within hours, Ronald posted a short, heartbreaking message on Instagram. It was just a black square with the caption, please pray. My Tiffany. My everything. Please God. The post quickly spread across the 90-Day Fiancé community. At first, people were confused, but soon, entertainment news began to report the story. TMZ was the first. Their headline was clear. 90-Day Fiancé star Tiffany Franco in critical condition after horrific car accident. In an instant, a private family tragedy became a worldwide story. The response from fans was huge and full of love. Tiffany's sister started a GoFundMe to help cover the massive medical bills and future care costs. The original goal was $100,000. It was passed in less than 12 hours. A fan said this shows how much people care about Tiffany, no matter the drama on the show. Viewers watched her son Daniel grow up. They saw her bring Carly into the world. They followed her weight loss journey and watched her gain confidence. She feels like a part of their lives. So when something this terrible happens, the whole community comes together. Whether you were Team Tiffany or Team Ronald, now everyone is Team Tiffany. The support didn't stop with fans. Many of her 90-Day Fiancé castmates, even those who had feuded with her, came together to show their support. Angela Deem, known for being controversial, posted a photo of her and Tiffany with the caption, God, please put your healing hands on this beautiful woman. A mother. A fighter. We're all praying for you, Tiff. Kalani Fagata said, absolutely heartbroken. Life is so fragile. Sending all my love and prayers to Tiffany, her beautiful children, and her mom. Even castmates Tiffany had clashed with, like Debbie Johnson, shared kind words, putting aside old fights in the face of something far bigger. To really understand the strength of the woman now lying in the ICU, you have to understand the life she has lived. Tiffany Franco has always been a fighter. Before she was ever on TV, she was a young single mom devoted to her son Daniel. Fans of 90-Day Fiancé, the other way, were touched by their bond. Daniel, wise beyond his years, was not just her son but her partner in life. Tiffany once said, Daniel is my rock. Everything I do for him. He's the most important thing in my world. Then came Ronald. A trip to South Africa turned into a whirlwind romance. But Ronald came with a difficult past, including a gambling addiction that led to legal trouble. Tiffany made a tough choice, one based on love and hope. She decided to move to South Africa with Daniel to start a life with Ronald. One fan said this was a huge risk for her. She left everything behind for this man, believing in his recovery and their future. That says a lot about who she is. She saw the good in him and was ready to fight for it, even when others doubted her. It wasn't easy. Living in South Africa brought safety concerns and constant worry about Ronald's addiction. But it also brought their biggest joy, the birth of their daughter Carly Rose. With 2 kids now, the pressure only grew. The process to get Ronald to the U.S. was slow and frustrating. In the end, for her kids' safety and future, Tiffany made the hard decision to return to Maryland. She was a single mom again, at least in practice, with her husband still far away. In the years since, fans saw another major chapter in Tiffany's life. Her transformation, both physical and personal. After weight loss surgery, she lost over 80 pounds. But it was more than just about her appearance. A family friend said the surgery was about taking back control of her health, her life, her happiness. Tiffany found new confidence. She launched a makeup line. She started creating online content. She even began dating again on the single life. She was truly becoming her own person, not just a wife or a mother, but Tiffany. That's what makes this accident feel so cruel. It happened at the peak of her personal growth. Her life has always been full of challenges: single motherhood, moving across the world, fighting for Ronald's sobriety, taking charge of her health. That's who she is. A survivor. A fighter. And now, she's in the fight of her life. Days have turned into a week. Tiffany is still in a medically induced coma at the Shock Trauma Center in Baltimore. Hospital staff describe her condition as critical but stable. That may sound like a good sign, but doctors explain what it really means. Dr. Gupta said, "Critical but stable can be misleading. Critical means vital signs are not steady and there is still a real threat to life. Stable just means things aren't getting worse at that moment. It does not mean she's out of danger." With brain injuries like this, recovery takes time. The medical team is focused now on preventing further problems like infections, pneumonia, blood clots, and keeping her brain pressure under control. Tiffany's children, Daniel and Carly Rose, are being protected as much as possible. Family members are keeping their routine as normal as they can. Daniel, who's old enough to understand what's happening, is receiving counseling. Carly is too young to fully know, but she knows her mommy isn't there. A family friend said, "Daniel's trying so hard to be strong. He helps with his sister, but you can see it in his eyes, he's scared." Every morning, he asks his grandma, "Is Mama awake yet?" It's heartbreaking. Meanwhile, in South Africa, Ronald has been working with immigration lawyers. The U.S. Embassy, after receiving massive support from fans and public petitions, has reportedly given him an emergency humanitarian visa. He is expected to be on a flight to Baltimore within days. One fan said this is huge. That visa has been the biggest problem in their relationship for years. It's sad that it took a tragedy like this to finally break through all the red tape. But him being at her side will mean everything for Tiffany and for their kids. They need him now more than ever. But the big question remains, what will happen if or when Tiffany wakes up? Dr. Gupta explained, waking up from a coma isn't like flipping a switch. It's a slow, step-by-step process. And recovering from a serious brain injury can take a lifetime. Patients may deal with physical challenges, problems with memory, emotions, and thinking clearly. It's going to be a long road. Tiffany Franco has never had an easy path. But if her past has shown us anything, it's that she doesn't give up. She has faced so many battles and come through them stronger. Now, the world is hoping she can do it again. Physically, she'll have to recover from the orthopedic injuries. The femur fracture will require months of physical therapy. Cognitively, patients can struggle with memory, concentration, and executive function. Emotionally, it can lead to depression, anxiety, and personality changes. Every single case is different. She will need a team of specialists, physical therapists to learn to walk. Again, occupational therapists to relearn daily tasks, and speech therapists if her language centers were affected. She will need immense psychological support to process the trauma. Her life and the life of her family has been irrevocably changed. The woman who wakes up may not be the same woman who was driving home on that rainy Friday night, but her family and the millions of people who have followed her story are holding on to one thing: her spirit, family friend. If anyone can do this, it's Tiffany. She is the strongest person I know. She has been knocked down so many times in her life, and she always gets back up. She has to. She has to do it for Daniel and Carly. They are her world and she is theirs. In the face of immense darkness the world has, responded with a tidal wave of light. The investigation into the accident is ongoing. The driver of the truck, who sustained minor injuries, is under investigation for reckless driving with reports of texting while driving being a key focus. But for now, the legalities have taken a back seat to the human drama. The focus is on healing. The coming weeks and months will be the most challenging of Tiffany Franco's life. It will be a journey through pain, frustration, and small victories that will feel monumental. She will have to draw on that deep well of resilience that has defined her entire life. She will be surrounded by the love of her mother, her sister, her children, and a husband who is crossing the globe to be by her side. And she will be lifted by the thoughts and prayers of millions of strangers, a community brought together by a television show who are now united in their hope for her recovery. That we don't know what the future holds for Tiffany Franco, but we know she is not fighting alone. More update. Tiffany Franco splits from boyfriend Dan McFarland. Star Tiffany Franco's new boyfriend revealed. Who is Tiffany Franco's ex? Ronald Smith's new girlfriend. And glaring clues. Tiffany Franco and Ronald are still in love. I will explain everything. Tiffany Franco splits from boyfriend Dan McFarland. But why? Tiffany Franco, who was on 90 Day Fiancé for a while before her breakup with Ronald Smith, has confirmed that she is seeing Dan McFarland during a trip to South Africa. The 31-year-old single mother of son Daniel met Ronald, and in the first season of 90 Day Fiancé the other way, they were married. Despite the couple's joy at welcoming a daughter, Carly, into the world, physical separation ultimately ended their marriage. Many times before getting back together, Tiffany and Ronald considered divorcing. On the other hand, 90 Days, the single life altered everything. On season 3 of the Single Life, Tiffany Franco, 90 Day Fiancé, met Dan on a dating app while she was still separated from Ronald. Tiffany and Dan started dating in September 2022, but they recently broke up as she announced in an Instagram live video. John Yates, a blogger, demonstrated that Tiffany had unfollowed Dan by posting images of Tiffany's Instagram profile. A fan commented in Yates's comment area. She just confirmed on her live right now that they aren't seeing each other anymore. They are better off as friends, even after trying to inquire as to why Tiffany unfollowed Dan. Although they are still friends, the fan said they were unable to get an answer. Tiffany, who was on 90 Days to a Fiancé, has likewise removed all of Dan's content off Instagram. Because of this, Tiffany and Ronald's relationship is seen as one of the most poisonous on 90 Day Fiancé. Even the most dedicated fans are likely confused by the number of times the couple has broken up and then gotten back together. It was clear that Tiffany and Ronald had reconciled after her romantic outing on horseback with Dan on The Single Life. After learning that Ronald had been cheating on her and had never ended things with Lauren Fraser, Tiffany finally snapped. So far, no word on a divorce from 90 Day Fiancé husband Ronald, even though she has stated that she is in discussions with a lawyer to formally end their marriage. In the meantime, Ronald has taken to Instagram to brag about his girlfriend. It is unknown how Ronald met Lauren, a British woman. On the other hand, Ronald asserts that Tiffany threatened their children in order to get him to end his relationship with Lauren. But in a recent Instagram Q&A with her fans, Tiffany stated that she has no business deciding whether or not Ronald's social media photos with his girlfriend are genuine or whether he is just trying to cover up something. No matter how annoying she finds Ronald, Tiffany claims her desire to see him happy outweighs all others. But she made fun of Ronald by suggesting that he should start a new family if he can even make it to one. Tiffany, the famous 90 Day Fiancé couple, keeps returning to Ronald despite his mistakes since. Everyone wants to know if she still has feelings for him. Did Tiffany, in an effort to make Ronald envious, go overboard uploading Instagram footage of Dan kissing her? By deleting the videos, Tiffany has effectively ended her relationship with Dan. Perhaps Tiffany will return to Dan this time instead of Ronald, the star of 90 Day Fiancé, considering her past with her exes. Star Tiffany Franco's new boyfriend revealed after breaking up with Dan McFarland and Ronald Smith. Tiffany Franco, star of 90 Day. The single life has found love. Again in the first season of 90 Day Fiancé. The other way, Tiffany, a 31-year-old from Maryland, wed Ronald, a man from South Africa. A daughter, Carly Rose, was born to Tiffany and her husband in July 2019. Daniel, her kid from a prior relationship, was already in her life. Due to Ronald's immigration problems, Tiffany and Ronald were unable to be together. Even he failed miserably at supporting his loved ones. In February 2023, Tiffany stated that she and comedian Dan, whom she had begun dating through a dating app, had split up. Tiffany allegedly started dating Scott Wern in June 2023 after hinting at a new relationship in March of that year. However, 90 Day Fiancé update reports that Tiffany has now moved on with her partner. A photo of Tiffany with a man at Megas was uploaded on the Instagram page. While the 90 Day Fiancé star gazed fondly at her bow, the man glanced into the camera with a hand wrapped around Tiffany. Tiffany, who has shed more than 80 were all black. It was announced on Tiffany's Instagram page that her new lover is not American. Since her new partner is Irish, she is once again dating across national boundaries. A 90 Day Fiancé fan named Ronnie mentioned Tiffany's boyfriend in the caption. After hearing that Tiffany was seeing someone new, Valwis took to the comments to express their shock and dismay. Something like "she doesn't care for her kids" was written by one of her fans, relentlessly pursuing older men. Why couldn't Tiffany find a date from her own nation? Someone else wondered. Another viewer of reality TV shows commented, "anything to stay on T." But some of her admirers were thrilled for Tiffany as well, seeing as how she seemed content in her relationship. 90 Day, the single life was Tiffany's most recent appearance. She claimed to be over Ronald, but she ended up getting back together with him after traveling to South Africa to see him. During the course of their breakup, Tiffany learned that Ronald was seeing someone else. After that, Tiffany made up her mind to divorce Ronald. Dan, with whom Tiffany had met multiple times before to her trip to South Africa, proposed to her. Tiffany did had an off-screen romance with Dan, but after they broke up, Tiffany shared a video of an unidentified male whose identity she kept hidden. Scott, who was previously romantically involved with Lydia Morrill, has shown interest in dating Tiffany. She let it slip that they weren't dating and appeared to turn down Scott's offer. Even though Tiffany and Ronnie are dating, Tiffany has not yet made it official on Instagram. Tiffany remains a beloved member of the 90 Day Fiancé cast despite the criticism directed towards her questionable life decisions. Given Ronnie's Irish heritage, Tiffany and he may become engaged if their romance takes a serious turn, which would mean they get to film their newly formed relationship on TLC. Although Tiffany will not be appearing in the next 4th season of 90 Day The Single Life, she may return with her new boyfriend and a fresh plotline that has nothing to do with her ex-boyfriend Ronald, who is Tiffany Franco's ex-Ronald Smith's new girlfriend. According to Tiffany Franco's accusation made on the 3rd season tell all of 90 Day, The Single Life former 90 Day Fiancé star Ronald Smith cheated on her with his girlfriend in South Africa. Tiffany and her companion met Ronald, who is an influencer and owner of a makeup brand. Tiffany met Ronald while on vacation. After an immediate spark ignited between them,